Everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, April 19th. We're on the Asian account. We have some Druid and Hunter victories and a challenge a friend that we're trying to do. So let's see if we can get this challenge a friend thing to work. He denied me, so let's go ahead and remove him. If you're not willing to accept a challenge a friend request for 80 gold, you're a fool. So let's just go ahead and jump into Druid and Hunter games. If we get everything done on the Asian account before we cover all the video games and news, then we'll jump back to the main account and play just ranked play. Mostly this recording I think will be looking at games. There was leftover games from Wednesday and there's a lot to talk about. So we've got a game here called Moon Patrol, which is just a dropper map. There's nothing here. This is a low effort game for $1.99. Trade out all of those cards. I think we will probably run into a large number of bad games. Seems like Friday is the day that bad games get released more than any other day. So we've got a game on here, DH Trouble Guy, which looks like a old school platforming shooter. There's nothing here that looks particularly interesting. It looks like Commander Keen. Clone, although I guess you can't, I probably shouldn't say Commander Keen clone because nobody knows what Commander Keen is. $1.19 discounted. Let's see, next we have a Konami publishing of Anniversary Collection Arcade Classics. That definitely does not roll off the tongue. So what games does this include? Looks like a bunch of side-scrolling shooters and shoot-em-ups. This might be a Castlevania game since it's Konami. Let's see if we can get the full Leecher listing here. 8 masterpieces from the 80s, from Nemesis to Haunted Castle. It includes Scramble, Twinbee, Nemesis, also known as Gradius, Salamander, also known as Life Force, Typhoon, also known as Ajax, Haunted Castle, Vulcan Ventures, also known as Gradius 2, and Thundercross. So these are some old school Konami games, and they probably this is a game that should be put on the follow list, but I wouldn't be surprised if these are just being emulated, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're just being emulated terribly. Let's see.
This guy's toast.
It says you can, a review here says you can only play the US versions of these games. More negative reviews. I've seen like 3 positive reviews and 2 negative reviews. So Konami is not interested in doing anything to improve the video game industry or make any new video games. They're just going to license out old games. So it would be very hard to justify buying these old games and supporting a company that's really just a holding company, in the same way that Atari now is just owned by a holding company. Well, it's slightly different, but it's basically the same. There are no artists at Konami. There are no creative people at Konami. Giving $1 to Konami does not fund $1 of development in a new Konami game that anybody would want to play. So it just doesn't feel like that's something that would be useful for the video gamers or society in general, to fund and buy old games that you probably don't want to play, to fund a entity or corporate entity that's just going to take your money and run. At the very least, if you were to buy a EA game, you know at least a little bit of that money towards all those microtransactions is going towards the development of the next potential FIFA game or something along those lines. There's something to be slightly proud about who you're supporting there. What does this do? Nothing. Next we have a game called Abracadabra Boom, which is just a Bomberman clone. It doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't particularly look great either.
This guy's toast.
It's early access for $17.99 discounted. Yeah, this doesn't look quite good enough for me to want to put it on the fall list, though, so I'm gonna leave that one out. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure this game is family friendly in its screenshots, because it's tagged with nudity and sexual content. Yep. We try to be family friendly for YouTube. So we have a game on Steam here called Hello Goodbye. It's a visual novel tagged with nudity and sexual content. Anime characters, of course, as typically is. The schoolgirl outfit rule that was once used as an excuse for the censorship that was happening on Steam seems to now have been fully defeated as a concept, because clearly it was dumb. Every single image here has people in school outfits. The argument was ridiculous in the first place, because it was saying that if they're in any kind of uniform, that means they're in high school or junior high, or maybe they were even making the argument that some are in elementary school and thus they're underage, which they're cartoons. They have no age, really. So it was a really dumb argument. This game is $26.99 discounted. That is extremely expensive even for a visual novel. It seems to be part of a collection, and I'm not sure if these are the same characters or not, or if this is just a collection. I guess I have to put this on the fall list because it looks good and it might be a good game. It would be kind of hard to justify actually paying that much for it, certainly, but will you will, I suppose, see what the reviews are on that game. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Embark, which is a Minecraft clone, obviously, with maybe some dungeon layering construction you can do, which isn't a terrible thought, but then it makes the whole game a top-down game instead of a first-person game like Minecraft is. This is early access for $22.49 discounted. That's extremely expensive. We've seen a lot of games marked up in price today. So every time we play somebody, we're just gonna go add that person to our friend request. If they say yes, we'll do challenge a friend, and then we'll jump to the game. Although we should probably wait a second and just see if they accept a friend request. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That should have been enough time for them to accept a friend request if they were going to immediately. And then we'll just jump back into a game. Next we have a game on Steam here called Forager, which has a 8-bit graphics looking game, but it seems to be almost more of a style than just a lazy development scheme. Seems like it has laser puzzles. It feels kind of like it's a hack and slash, almost like Zelda game. Let's see. It seems like it's kind of got a lot here, and because of that, you explore and expand, and then you get into dungeons. It seems like you're gonna end up doing a lot of mining in this game, and then it seems like it's a roguelike where you go into different squares, and the different squares unlock things. This game Forager is $19.99. I think it's worth putting on the follow list. I'm not 100% sold on it, frankly. It's rated very positively right now, and it's being published by the Humble Bundle. But not 100% sold on it because it seems like you potentially could do a lot of mining in it for not the best of reasons. Let's see. Just end the turn there. But yeah, it really is just going to come down to the balance. Whether you're doing a lot of hacking and slashing as the main gameplay mechanic, or whether you're doing mining and stuff. In a funny way, Minecraft is kind of the same way. That I really don't want to play Minecraft the way Minecraft probably should be played, where you're doing a lot of mining to get diamonds and ore, and that's why a lot of the modded versions of Minecraft have slightly more appeal to me and a lot of people, is because you end up getting to points where you stop having to really mine, or you create just a cobblestone generator and that just spits out cobblestone, or you use chickens or something. Sky Factory 4 has been released, and the Sky Factory series are always built around doing something crazy, doing everything crazy. So like what Sky Factory 4 does new is it gets rid of the ex nihilo sieving for items. So no longer are you creating a sieve and just making dust and sieving, which was repetitive and annoying, and now you do a whole nother system where you make like iron trees, and then the trees grow iron logs that you can then smelt into iron ingots, and you just do that for all the resources. I'm not sure if it's a billion times better than what's been done before, but it certainly is somewhat better. Next we have a game on Steam called Super Chicken Catchers, which seems like it might be more of a multiplayer game than a single player game. Early access for $13.49. It is multiplayer only. Yeah, it seems like you run around the arena trying to catch chickens in a competition. It seems like you're playing as the pig and you're making the chickens, or letting the chickens jump on top of you. Yeah, since it's a multiplayer game, it's not something that I'd ever cover, so I can just skip it. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Torn, which I kind of feel like this game had already come out. There's a lot of these like walking simulator puzzle style games, Myst-like games that have come out, and they seem to all have similar names. This one seems to be around making like constellations and requires VR, but it's free, so I guess I could put this on the follow list. It can, and if I ever get VR, I would try it out. You're probably getting what you pay for and more from the looks of it, since it's a free game. Okay, what do I want to do? I definitely want to kill this. Let's go ahead and kill this. And this. And this. That probably was a horrible mistake, the way I just played it, come to think of it. Next, we have a game on Steam called Prologue for Vacant Kingdom. Looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter bullet hell game with pretty ugly-looking graphics. Looks like it might be an RPG Maker game too. It's free, so I guess the price is right, but yeah, in no way interesting.
To my side.
Let's see. Let's just go ahead and hit the face. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Nintendo and Tencent gain approval to bring the Switch to China. So this is because all companies outside of China have to team up with a Chinese company. This is how Tencent has gotten so big, and we have another story where Tencent owns like 15% of the video game market worldwide because of stuff like this. This is also how the technology for the Switch now is basically going to be given. The corporate secrets are going to be forced to be given to Tencent, and then Tencent is basically going to hand those corporate secrets directly over to the Chinese government to then give to whoever they wish, or use in any way they wish. Let's see. What do we want to do?
I hunt alone.
I'm just going to leave everything on the field as it is. It kind of doesn't matter that the Switch can come to China, because China's video game approval system is also slowing down the sales of video games. And so I don't think that this is going to be a case where kid-friendly, happy-go-lucky, Chinese-censored Nintendo games are going to start becoming very popular because they're the only thing available for purchase. I think we're just going to see less and less games approved and less games played in favor of the Chinese government keeping kids bored so that they'll join the military, I guess, and stay in school, or whatever their line of thinking is. I don't think it's just oppression for oppression's sake, pretty much, as best as I can tell. Meanwhile, there's another story we'll talk about where HTML5 games also now have to be approved by Chinese censorship, and less games in general are going to be allowed, is their stated goal. There's a not video game news story, but the Freddie Mercury kind of fictionalized biopic movie was taken to China and censored so heavily that people really couldn't even understand what was going on in the movie. And the Game of Thrones episodes are so heavily censored that even the Chinese citizens are begging the censors to not censor it so much, and for them to openly say that, that's just how terrible it is. It's to the level that you're not even getting the general sense of what Game of Thrones is about, which, let's face it, Game of Thrones in part is about a lot of violence, a lot of bloodiness, a lot of nudity, a lot of things that that Chinese censors don't want available to the adults in particular in China. This isn't protecting the children when you're censoring a Freddie Mercury biopic or a Game of Thrones. This is censoring full-grown adults that should have the freedom to watch almost anything that they want. Like, very little I can imagine should be censored from society. If even like videos of terrorists killing other people, I think that there is a value for the people that want to go watch that, so that there's enough people in society to say, yes, I saw that, yes, that really happened, and that way there is a countering effect to an argument of, oh, that was actually just a bunch of fake news, or that was all made up. That, yeah, there wasn't a terrorist attack. No, nobody actually saw it. It was just a bunch of crisis actors, things like that. More people who are willing to take on the burden of watching extremely violent events if they happen to be recorded. The New Zealand massacre in particular, that guy recorded himself shooting people. The people who want to watch that video act as a strong foundation to say, yes, that New Zealand massacre happened, and it would be impossible now for people to say, no, it didn't. And so there is value to a society for more knowledge to be available to those who want to actually see it. I'm all for labeling things as violent and disturbing, sure, but I don't see a reason why a otherwise sanely minded person should be limited from watching things like that. People go in the United States and watch executions all the time as witnesses to prove that the person was actually executed. That is certainly allowed. Sometimes society just does need witnesses to horrific events. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called God's Trigger, which seems like it's a top-down twin-stick shooter. Seems like the name God's Trigger should be used for a better-looking game than this, but in all fairness, this is from Techland Publishing. Techland being known for making some decent games. So I'm willing to put this on the follow list and give it a chance. It's $14.99 unless you buy the OMG edition. But I would probably want to wait for more reviews. It is rated positively right now. Single player and local co-op, no online co-op. So yeah, that deserves to be on the follow list. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Grim Earth, which seems like it might be a platforming adventure game. Maybe closer to maybe a like point and click adventure game. I'm not really seeing any enemies that you're fighting, so it might just be getting from point A to point B. This feels like it might be slightly more kid-friendly style game than most. Yep. Well, this doesn't look bad, and it doesn't look like a super difficult Super Meat Boy style game, which that's almost always my concern when seeing a platforming game is this going to be really, really difficult? So Grim Earth is early access for $4.99, no discount. So it deserves to be on the follow list. Right. If I play this now, let's start with that. Kill command. Play this. Do that. Next we have on Steam Duel Match Solitaire 2 Collector's Edition, which is weird because it feels like Duel Match Solitaire 1 just recently came out. It seems like far too many solitaire games are getting published by Grey Alien Games these days. $11.04. Yeah, and you can see there's all kinds of different Duel Match Solitaire things in a bundle for $32.62. They're piecemeal selling you Duel Match games when they really shouldn't be. Right. So, assuming this is Explosive Trap, let's do this. Yeah. That's what I figured. I'll just play that way. So yeah, I'm gonna skip any future Duel Match games if I remember to. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Save Kosh, which is a big pig-faced. I don't know if this is a troll game or if this is something. Seems like there's people's phone numbers and you're talking to a bunch of kind of anthropomorphized animal humanoids. What is this game? Simulation Adventure Story Rich. You once ruled the city and now it wants you dead. This is not loading very much. This feels like it's just conversation after conversation. This game is $10.19 discounted. I'll put it on the follow list and see if it gets continues to get positive reviews. That would be, I guess, one main thing that would push me towards buying this game. But at the moment, it just feels like you're kind of talking with people and interacting with people. So it kind of feels like it's what's the best way to describe it? Just a boring gameplay loop. Would I guess be the best descriptor. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Castlevania Anniversary Collection lineup announced. Launches May 16th. So I just finished playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, which was terrible, and Mirror Fate HD, which was terrible. So it doesn't sound amazingly fun to potentially play 8 Castlevania games or the older games. That being said, none of the 2 games I have played really are Metroidvania style games in the first place. They are clearly trying to take the Castlevania brand into a different directions and worse directions. So the collection will be released May 16th for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. The Japanese edition will cost roughly $29 or 3,240 yen. Includes Castlevania for NES. Almost certainly I wouldn't want to play this because this would be a nightmare. Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, probably wouldn't want to play that. Castlevania The Adventure for Game Boy, I'm not a fan of Game Boy games, so probably wouldn't want to play that. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse for the NES, probably wouldn't want to play that either. Kid Dracula for Game Boy, I didn't even know that was a Castlevania game. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge for Game Boy, probably wouldn't want to play that. Super Castlevania 4 for Super NES, I might play that. And Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis, I might want to play that. Like, it would be really, really difficult to justify playing any of the Castlevania games. It's just impossibly difficult. Let's see. There's a video here showing these Castlevania games, and even if I was gonna play them, I don't know if I could play them the way I play games on YouTube. Like, it would be the first time I would have ever played them. I would be laughed at, certainly. I probably wouldn't do very good. Some of the Game Boy games are black and white, so, and without the benefit of running it through an emulator, you probably would have to you'd probably have to play it in black and white, which that would be annoying. Let's see this. And this. Tech Raptor says that it's a shame that Konami hasn't chosen to include Castlevania The Adventure here and not the WiiWare remake Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. Since the original Wii shop closed, Rebirth hasn't been available to the public. Says Castlevania and its two sequels have been on the Nintendo Virtual Console service, as has Castlevania 4 and Castlevania The Adventure and Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. I guess maybe there is not a super popular Castlevania game that came out in the Nintendo 64 area and past that point. So I wouldn't be surprised if 1, 2, or 3 are the really popular ones of that series. But without the nostalgia, I don't know. I don't know if these are the games. Let's see. It'll come with an ebook. So over here, as we are waiting to see if that friend request gets recorded, here's a looping video of the different games, and yeah, you can kind of see these would be very, very old games to play. I am not sure I could actually cover them. I probably would just spotlight them. But I do think still, I believe there is a DS Castlevania game or a Vita Castlevania game out there that's good. I believe there probably was a PlayStation 2 Castlevania game, maybe a PlayStation 1, maybe even a PlayStation 3 Castlevania game. I think that there were good games out there, and I'm not just chasing a ghost of something that is slightly modern and good versus that doesn't actually exist. But that very well may be the case. Let's see, they're not gonna accept a friend request, so let's just jump back in here. Meanwhile, I think there is a good chance I'll just play Axiom Verge, and since Axiom Verge is a relatively modern Metroidvania style game, that will satisfy me until I get around to playing something like Dead Cells, and I'll just move forward consistently and never turn around and look backward to older Metroidvania games. And yeah, there's no Metroid games are ever coming to PC, at least not, it's not likely to ever happen. So that's really what I would prefer to play. Is I had played the Metroid Prime game, so it would make a lot of sense in my head to go back and try and play Metroid 1 on the NES. And I heard that there's a texture pack you can even use with some emulators for Metroid to make it look like a modern game. If that's the case, that would be amazing. A modern looking reskinned version of Metroid would be cool. Probably not something you'd want to use the first time you played the game, but even then it might be worth it. Moving on, we've got a game on Steam here called Moonlight Warrior, which seems to be a deck building RPG kind of fighting game. It doesn't look very good graphically, really dull backgrounds, not amazingly attractive creatures. It's $1.99 also, so yeah, this just screams low quality. I don't see a need to go any further and investigate that. Okay, twin spell, do damage. Twin spell, do damage. Tech Raptor has an article here. Home Sweet Home will scare the heck out of you on the PS4 this May. This looks like a horror game that might be worth playing. Problem with horror games like this though is there are so many asset flip horror games that look like that it's kind of hard to tell. This is more of a hype article than anything else. I'll watch the trailer and tell you if anything looks particularly spooky. Deal 3 damage.
I wonder.
And then rush. So the trailer seems to show a slightly better level of detail. It seems to show a Japanese scroll girl looking monster. That I think this is the game where the monster just comes out of the walls and pits of blood and such, and yeah, I'm seeing several different types of monsters, so it seems to be pretty varied too. Alright, let's start with this, and then play this, and then this, and then here. And here. And then return. Interesting, the tags on that video were very weird because I'm now getting recommended a lot of weird videos after looking at that trailer. So anyways, yeah, Home Sweet Home looks like it might be a horror game of some note. Coming to the PS4. A little surprising that it's only a PS4 release. A little surprising too that horror games would try to even be on the PlayStation with their new censorship stance, because you know that's exactly where the creative freedom will be curtailed next with their censorship policies. At first they'll come for the porn and everybody will go, oh, who cares, it's just porn. And next they'll come for the gory, the graphic, and the violent, and eventually they'll get down to speech and thought in general down to the point where there's literally no games that are acceptable on there on the PS4 at all. I'm losing my concentration.
Well
Yep.
played.
I didn't talk about it, but there seemed to be a pretty large, more than there should have been, amount of people complaining about the new Star Wars trailer, because the protagonist seemed to be a straight white guy. Although I don't know how they know he's straight. But yeah, of course they're always gonna push some stupid agenda. SJWs in particular are.
Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Sigma Theory Global Cold War. Seems to be some kind of simulation game, but I can't really put my finger on what you're doing here. Seems to be like you're placing people in certain places and talking to people. It's rated very positively. Early access for $16.19. But the trailer does a pretty bad job, muted at least, of explaining what you're doing. Feels like that overworld minigame that Assassin's Creed Brotherhood had, where you're just sending off assassins to go. It says it's a turn-based strategy game in a futuristic global Cold War. Recruit a squad of special agents and run your initial agency to secure control of the singularity. So there might be something there, although that sounds like a pretty boring gameplay loop, if you ask me. There we go.
Get down! Time moves quickly.
Next we have a game on Steam just called Katana Zero, which is a hack and slash beat 'em up brawler. At least that's something that I can recognize pretty easily. We've run into a lot of simulation games that don't explain themselves too well. Here you're mostly just
Reporting for duty.
hack and slashing things, I think, and shooting things. This is from Devolver Digital. It's $14.99 with no discount. I'm not sure if I honestly believe that Devolver Digital deserves to be selling and publishing games at a premium. I don't think their name really holds enough weight to justify that for a game to come out and not be discounted, and to be at $15 for something that probably should have been at least $7 at max. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Iraq bans PUBG and Fortnite. Country joins Nepal and some parts of India in forbidding blue hole shooter, citing impact on youth and addictive qualities. Although, as far as I understood it, Iraq banned it for everybody. And I guess they moved fast because it was reported that one person had brought that up as a thing, and as an idea, and basically a Shia, a religious cleric, had brought it up, and a Iraqi political leader then followed suit, which makes me question if Iraq is not moving towards a theocracy, which is kind of the last thing you'd want to see happen. So yeah, the Iraqi Shiite cleric here we'll just show it so I don't mispronounce this. Iraqi Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr, the leader of the political alliance that won most seats in last year's parliamentary election. So, like a political alliance and a Shiite cleric are running the show. So how is this not the beginnings of Iraq turning into a theocracy when the religious teachings and beliefs, or frankly just opinions, are directly affecting the laws that are being made? But they certainly moved fast. They went from bringing it up, and I assumed they were going to be ignored, or there just wouldn't be enough votes for it to get passed, to getting it passed. It's important to say that most definitely there are religious people in the United States government. I don't think any government is perfect, or any government group of leaders is perfect, but there's not a lot of knee-jerk laws that are passed in the federal level in the United States based on religious opinions. There is, however, probably a large amount of knee-jerk religiously based laws placed in the state level and city and county levels, but they often get overturned by our balance of power system. Let's play as the druid and see if we can actually get some victories. Best suggestion I can make to the Iraqi people is do not embrace censorship, do not embrace democracy, theocratic dictatorship rule, vote out people that voted for this law, because it is a great indicator of what they plan on doing for a lot more important things than video games. Today it will be something unimportant in video games, and next day it will be books being burned. Next days it will be like religious teaching mandated in all schools. It'll just keep going and keep going. And all people deserve freedom, and you will not get freedom with rulers like that.
Flesh fails. Try crystal. Crystallize.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Scream of the Viking Redux, which looks like it's just a terrible platforming game. Nothing interesting here. Low effort game for 59 cents discounted. I could practically close every tab for every game that was rated at 59 cents, and we would never lose a quality. We would never miss seeing those games because they're always terrible if they're the lowest prices possible. It's almost 100% guaranteed. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Dances with Butterflies, which looks like a VR game where you see butterflies and stand in one area and kind of do nothing else. It seems like this is a tech demo for something that could be complicated, but not really that complicated. It's free to play, I guess, but like the only thing that would make this complicated is if each butterfly specifically had its own artificial intelligence engine going, and there's really no reason why you would need to program each individual butterfly to have its own brain and move in its own way. You'd have to program at least a dozen different personalities into butterflies that probably don't exist, I imagine butterflies swarm in a similar way that that a lot of flying small creatures swarm. So they would just fly in the same way, fly into the same breeze of wind. So yeah,
Embrace the void.
I don't even know why you would have made a game like that. It seems really silly. Probably an asset flip game if I was to guess. They just said, oh, we found a forest asset we can use and a cheap butterfly asset we can use. Let's make a VR game around that.
For the wild.
Gamatsu has an article here. Sega Genesis Mega Drive mini titles 11 to 20 have been announced. So the Japanese version will be Contra, Dyna Brothers 2 Special, Game no Kazame, Otokyu Yo, the Hybrid Front, Landstalker, Musha, Thunder Force, Streets of Rage 2, Super Fantasy Zone, and World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. The Western version, or Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, same game basically. Earthworm Jim, which was not in the Japanese version. Landstalker, Probotector, Shinobi 3 I don't think was in it. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 I don't think was in it. Final Fantasy Zone, Thunder Force, World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Interesting. Castle of Illusion and World of Illusion, I guess, are different games. So the full list, I guess, would have been a better. Would require you to combine the previously confirmed games for the Japanese version, which are listed here, and I won't read, with the Western version. So a decent random assortment of Sega Genesis titles, depending on the price of the Sega Genesis Mini. I could see people wanting to get it just as a desktop toy more than anything else, frankly. Like I don't think the lineup for games was ever going to be good enough to justify buying that. Buying it for that, but there is probably a justification if you're going to, if you just want something fancy and you already have like the NES Mini and the Super NES Mini.
That will be a story to tell.
Choose a minion, become a copy of it. Alright. Let's do this. On the turn.
My hand is
Tech Raptor has an article here. Nintendo Switch firmware 8.0.0 now live. Adds sorting and more. So you can now sort the software around, which is probably super useful. You can sort by time last played, total time played, software title, and software publisher. That's hardly custom sorting though. Bunch of new icons.
That will be a story to tell.
Zoom feature. You can press the home button twice to activate zoom. You can now stop the console from waking up when an AC adapter is disconnected. There's new VR mode restriction on the parental controls. New region selection things. And save data backup. So some minimal improvements, certainly, but probably very welcome improvements for anybody who spends a lot of time playing the Switch.
My hand is full.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Shadows of Adam for the Switch launches May 3rd. I haven't heard of this game. It says it's a classic style RPG. Let's see, what does this look like? Well, it looks like an 8-bit classic style RPG. You know, if I tried to go back and play an old NES RPG, I wouldn't be surprised if it did eventually get down to a level that it was more of a smart move to play a more modern clone of an old school RPG that has some of the newer ideas in it and just quality of life improvements versus playing an old RPG that I might have some nostalgia for but is an old game and thus will have no quality of life improvements and will be probably a nightmare to play. Speaking of nightmares to play, 5 damage to a minion, 2 damage to all minions. That was not enough to win in the turn.
I am out of cards.
Yep. So unless this guy's gonna let me win, I'm gonna lose, but whatever. That gets the daily quest done. Next we have a game on Steam here called Levelhead, which seems to be a level editor game with platforming, kind of like a Super Mario Maker. Seriously? He canceled the challenge? No, he canceled the challenge in the sense that he didn't want to play me again. Fine, fair enough. So this game Levelhead is rated very positively. It seems like it's a Super Mario Maker game. To me, it doesn't look particularly interesting. It looks like it's a little too difficult, a little too Super Meat Boy style of game. But yeah, you draw things, and it seems like when you put multiple items of the same thing next to each other, you get bigger versions of things. This very well might be the best Super Mario Maker game that exists, but the actual playing here, that seems like you are highly skilled, having to do a lot of tricks and dashes to get from point A to point B. And the playing part of this would be the part that would drive me crazy. It's early access for $19.99. It doesn't seem like it has any online multiplayer, so you also might not be able to share your builds, which reminds me of a story. Yeah, Smash Brothers introduced a level designing option where you can make your own custom levels for Smash Brothers, and immediately it became flooded with inappropriate content that was getting recommended by this by the automated system. So it is a consistent problem, in particular for Nintendo online elements, to be flooded with inappropriate content and trolling and joking. And Nintendo has done a very bad job of implementing any kind of systems just universally to filter that kind of stuff out. When clearly Nintendo in particular needs a whole team just manually reviewing every submission. The same problem was prevalent in Lego World, and that's kind of why they shut down Lego World and gave up on it, or at least in part. Moving on, Tech Raptor has an article here. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, launches July 19th on Switch. So here's Miss Marvel, not looking much like the Captain Marvel. I think this is Captain Marvel. There might be a Miss Marvel and a Captain Marvel, actually. But Ultimate Alliance started before the Marvel movies did, and so they definitely look different. I'm not sure Ultimate Alliance as a series has ever been
My
a
remedies
great
are all
game
natural.
though either, so that is, I think, something else to consider, is that they tried to be a good game but they didn't really succeed. Gamatsu has the same article about the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. I assume this is Kid Dracula, and some more screenshots of what a lot of these Castlevania games would look like. It's just, it is definitely asking a lot to think that you would want to go back and play those games even if you had nostalgia for them. That is definitely asking for you to go back to second generation, if not first generation game design.
My remedies
hit
are all
that.
natural.
Then just get sniped. Okay.
Pass me that arc light scanner.
Next we have a game on Steam here called Privateers, which you'd think was a pirate game, but it looks like it's a top-down fighting game. It just looks horrible. It is a pirate game of some sort, but boy, does that not look like the kind of pirate game you'd expect to be a top-down twin-stick shooter looking piece of garbage. $8.99 discounted. That's definitely not making it to the follow list. We have such an incredible amount of stuff here. There's just like so much I'm running into here as far as games. I'm trying to burn through them as fast as possible. Next we have a game here called JQ Cosmos, which sounds like it's a trivia game. Yeah, a quiz game about space. It's been a while since we've seen low effort quiz games. This honestly doesn't even look terribly low effort. I'd say it's for the price of 59 cents discounted, it's probably fine. But I don't think I trust an English Russian quiz game for the facts to be accurate, and I don't see any reason why you'd want to buy a quiz game on Steam in particular. Maybe if there was a free-to-play with ads quiz game on cell phones, that might make some sense to me. Like every day you get 10 or 50 quiz questions to answer. That'd be something that might entertain for a long amount of time, but paying money for something that would be a limited number of questions, like 100 questions in total, seems like way too expensive. And I imagine that's all that is. Next we have Amber Airlines 7 Wonders, the continuation of these supposedly girl-friendly games that are all just cook, serve, delicious for the most part. You're just serving food or standing behind the counter for most of the gameplay loops. This doesn't look terrible, it's just the games never play well. And this is 25% off for $9.74, which is pretty expensive. I don't think a little girl would really enjoy playing these games any more than anybody else. I think it would be, for the most part, a annoying game that people lose interest in very fast, regardless of gender. Next we have a game on Steam called Feed a Titansaurus, which I don't think Titansaurus is what you would call this. I think that's a brontosaurus, but it's been a long time. And is this a VR game?
I
Yeah.
hope you like my invention.
It's a VR game for $8.49, which is a little cheap for a VR game, discounted. This seems like this is probably just an asset flip game with giant tree, bunch of mountains, skybox, and a dinosaur. Let's see. Just play this. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Bunker Nightmare Begins. Is this a sequel to or prequel to the full motion video game Bunker called The Bunker? I don't think it is. I think this is just a dark screenshot horror game where you're in a bunker. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here of any interest. This is just a bunch of dark screenshots. $4.99. English only as a language. Yeah. I think that's an easy to skip one. Play this. Play this.
Job done.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Peas Adventure, which clearly is a low effort platforming, like mobile port style game. Seems like you're shooting the peas out of a cannon to land in a basket. This is 69 cents discounted. Yep, no, nothing there of interest. Meanwhile, I'm not paying a lot of attention to this gameplay. I do still need 2 hunter or druid victories. So we haven't got all the daily quests done, but there's also a ton of games still left over. Next we have a game on Steam here called Aberbury, which looks visually polished as a Prince of Persia style platforming game. There might actually be a game here. This is $9.99 with a lot of language support. I'm gonna put this one on the follow list. It does kind of feel like an old Prince of Persia game with maybe some more hacking and slashing than Prince of Persia would have. Of course, the very old school Prince of Persia games weren't particularly well known for being fair, easy, or good games. So that is another thought to keep in the back of your head when looking at this game, is that just because it looks like an old game doesn't mean like the old game was
The
good.
light protects me.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. God Wars: The Complete Legend for PC overview trailer. PC editions are coming to consoles. So this PC version of God Wars is due out in June from Kodakawa Games. What is God Wars though? Let's see. New alignment and automated placement of features of the PC version will be available for the PS4, Switch, and PS Vita versions. And let's see.
What to do?
I guess we're just gonna have to watch this trailer to see what this is. It says it's an RPG, so this is one of these Japanese presentations where it's just somebody talking to the screen.
Look who it is.
So God Wars is an RPG placement 2D kind of isometric game.
Look who it is.
Doesn't look terrible.
Look
Well,
who it
how
is.
about you be quiet?
I'm waits for no one. Murder! For the wild. Job done. I'm gonna need more cards.
Moving on. Next we have a game on Steam called Brother and Sister. This is probably a Chinese RPG Maker game. Look how much blackness is in all the screen. Dark screenshot syndrome. This thumbnail would catch your attention certainly. English language not supported, $1.49 for something that was an RPG. Or even if it was a visual novel, that's way too cheap, so you know it's not good quality. Cheap Chinese game. Which, I don't know what's gonna happen with cheap Chinese games. If we are gonna see more of them or less of them over time.
What shall we hunt?
For the wild. I'm all out of cards.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Wheel Travel, which is probably a cheap Western game of some sort. Yeah. Looks like it is just an asset flip, low effort, drive around the car game. Early access for $9.99. English and Japanese isn't the language support. Maybe it's a cheap Japanese game. Could be, with the Japanese character here for no real reason. Alright. $5. 5 damage to 1 minion.
My remedies are all natural.
Having no plan.
Got one! Got one!
Oh, so if I hadn't used that spell and then done this,
For the wild.
maybe I could have done something more.
Job done.
Fortunately, I didn't catch on to that as being a potential trick. So I'm probably gonna lose again. At this point, I think I probably shouldn't be playing ranked games, even though I'm at rank only at rank 20 anyways. I just need to be playing casual so that we can get stuff done, get actual victories. So let's switch over here, go to Hunter, keep things varied in play. We may just switch between Hunter and Druid. Every 3 games, I guess, is how we're gonna do it. Next we have a game on Steam called Time Travel VR, which seems like it's just a random assortment and collection of different scenes in VR. It doesn't look terrible, but it's pretty obvious that there's no substance here. If you're just calling your game Time Travel and it's just a VR shooting game. It's $6.59, which is way cheap for a VR game, too. Let's just trade all of these. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam called Don't Look Down, which is a VR platforming game that doesn't look very good. Seems like it's trying to do several concepts, but it didn't visually polish any of it. So you're sometimes grabbing spike balls, sometimes shooting spike balls, sometimes the spike balls electrify, sometimes you're jumping and platforming and swinging and holding on to things. It seems like you're just capable of doing a lot of different things. Then your wall climbing sometimes, rock climbing. One thing I will say about Don't Look Down is it doesn't look like a game that's actually something you should purchase, but at the very least they experimented with a lot more ideas and concepts than most of the low effort VR games that they really just have one concept that isn't that fun. That being said, it's 20% off at $19.99, which is super expensive. Well, not super expensive really for a VR game though. That might be in line.
I don't have enough mana.
Here. Let me make sure this next one is family friendly since it's tagged with nudity and sexual content. Seems to be family friendly enough. Next we have a game on Steam, a bunch of Asian characters. New Division / Hello Lady New Division. This seems like it's a visual novel game about a nun who is also like an assassin or something. It sounds very anime in it. English language not supported. $10.49 discounted. It's Japanese full audio and Chinese subtitles. So I imagine this is a Japanese visual novel of origin. It's rated positively also. I don't recognize the developer or the publisher, however. Let's see. Take that and hit that.
Low.
And then hit that. Sorry. I suppose a game like Hello Lady New Division, which I assume is the name, would get republished, or Gamatsu would talk about it if it was going to get an English translation. So if that happens, we will probably catch it. Gamma Sutra has the same article. Iraq Parliament votes to ban Fortnite and Battlegrounds. I kind of wish they would report on the numbers of people that voted on it, but I'm not getting any. I don't know how many people are in the Iraq Parliament in general, but if it's 100 people, just to take a guess, I would like to know how many of those 100 people voted in favor of the ban or voted against the ban.
Job's done.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Yin Yang, which is not spelled right. It would be Yin Space Yang. And this looks like it is a puzzle game where you're trying to reach an end spot while also flipping all of the squares. It's kind of like a mowing the lawn puzzle game. We saw one of those a couple days ago. It is spring, so maybe that springs to some developers' mind. This game is $10.79 yin yang. In no way should you pay $10 for a game like this. It's such a simplistic
To my side.
such a simplistic puzzle game. It should not be anywhere close to that price. And see how immediately I just move over to casual play and I get a victory first try. It's because people actually are trying to win on ranked play and they don't really care. Somebody just typed something. He was watching me. He typed in good game. GG. You probably had to watch and learn. Game Messenger has the same article. Report cheaper Switch model will focus on portability. I don't think we need to talk about that again. I'm gonna hold on to these two cards. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Kaiju Offensive. If this wasn't a troll game and didn't look like garbage, the concept wouldn't be a terrible idea. I don't know if I really want to play as a kaiju destroying a city from a top-down perspective. I would prefer more of a 3D isometric experience perspective, or a rampage from the side perspective. But unfortunately, this just looks horrible. It's $9.99 with no discount, so yeah, that's not making it to the list. Let's see if we can do something here
Quickly.
in the turn. I think at this point I've just started to look at games that came out today. Everything so far in the past 2.5 hours has just been working my way through the old content. Next game we have on Steam is called Castle of Pixel Skulls. This is clearly a super hardcore platforming. It's way too zoomed out. It's one of the Super Meat Boy irritating platformers for $1.79 discounted. No interest in it. Now, GameIndustry.biz put out this article, and it seems to be an opinion piece that they're pushing extremely hard, because they retweeted this a lot of times. Either that or my Twitter was messed up. I think my Twitter may have been messed up and it was just showing me the same tweets over and over again. But they put out this opinion piece diverging past Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo's radically different visions. And sometimes they would retweet this and phrase it like, the video game market is now the PlayStation market because Microsoft and Nintendo have gone in different directions. Here is the quote: "The traditional console market, as it has been for such a long time, is now in essence the PlayStation market." I would disagree with that, just because it isn't 100% Microsoft's goal that there'll be an Xbox One in everybody's house doesn't mean that they don't still want to sell Xbox Ones. Or Nintendo certainly still wants everybody to own a Switch if they can convince everybody to buy a Switch. But like, this is a heavy opinion piece. I don't know if there's anything really to take from it, though. It really does kind of just feel like it's a flame bait article, just trying to start fights and arguments. Personally, I would say no. Like, we're right on the verge of an update for the Nintendo Switch. We're on the verge of a release for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2, whatever it officially will be called. This fight for the next generation is just about to start. So calling the game for the previous generation is ridiculous. And if you do want to just limit yourself to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, in no way did the PlayStation 4 win this current generation. They have been losing exclusives left and right, and Nintendo Switch clearly won the generation. Just gotta kill that. Next, we have a game on Steam here with a bunch of Asian characters and called Paper Dolls Original. Now this is mixed, which is kind of a shame because this looks like it's a kind of highly polished horror game, wandering around a spooky house. So I'm going to, I guess, come down here. It's 10% off for $15.29. Let's look at the negative reviews and see what's wrong with it.
Lends the sun well.
Negative reviews. There are no negative reviews in my language. All the negative reviews are in Asian languages. So all reviews back to my language. There's a bunch of people who got the game for free that are reviewing it positively. So I need some English negative reviews before I could make a decision here. Visually though, this definitely looks like a game that should be on the fall list and be given a chance. This is new music, by the way, that's playing. I've never heard this music before. It's different for Hearthstone. It's kind of upbeat and like from the 60s or 70s.
Pass me that arc light spanner.
Next we have a game on Steam called Blacksmith Run, which looks like a Super Meat Boy style platformer. Of really no interest. There was one thing that caught my attention at the very beginning, and it was this cat girl, but that seems to be like just the publisher's logo. This is a game that is 59 cents discounted and in a bundle for $32.48. It's just like an extremely low effort game, I'm sure. All of them are. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Trade Fleet 1.5. This seems like a low effort clone of like Missile Defender. Yeah, nothing good here. 59 cents discounted. English and Korean game. Well, we didn't quite win that one, but that's alright. Still plenty of games to look at. Next we have a game on Steam called 3D Custom Lady Maker, which seems like a model customizer that's probably not as detailed as you would like it from some pre-bought 3D models. Really feels like there's maybe only 4 or 5 different skin models with some small modifications you can make. This is discounted to $3.99, and it doesn't seem like there's anything of gameplay in this. But they do have a bundle of 18 plus adult only content for $3.99 again, so double the price to maybe see some nudity. Probably see some nudity, but not worth it. Definitely don't get sold on those kind of garbage sales tactics. Next we have a game called You Died But a Necromancer Revived You, which seems to be a running and escaping traps arcade style game. Looks like it might have been a mobile port considering it's not widescreen. Yeah, it does not seem like something of any real value though. It's discounted to $7.64. Yeah, this doesn't look like something that would actually be fun. This is one of those frustration games at best, where you're just gonna die over and over again. see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Witch Ring Meister, which seems to be like a Chinese simulation game. I'm not sure this supports English, and even if this is all translated to English, I wouldn't be surprised if it's terribly translated to English for as much text as I'm seeing. Yeah, this seems like you're basically just playing a stats simulation game, trying to get the most powerful items you can get to sell or use. $6.29 discounted. And it says it supports English and Japanese and Chinese. I can't give this one the benefit of the doubt though. Even if this is like a match 3 minigame here, that's still not enough gameplay. So. So, despite my love for nearly all Japanese games, even I have a certain limit for obscurely complicated things. We had heard rumors of this, and I guess it's been officially announced now. This is a Gemetsu article. Arc System Works and WayForward announced River City Girls. More information due out later in 2019. We don't really know what that game is though, and it seems like there's not any screenshots or images or anything like that, so we still are very much left in the dark about what River City Girls is supposed to be. So yeah, that's basically a not news story because it doesn't give you really any details. It's just like details will come at some point in the future. Next we have this game called Ritual of the Moon, and I don't know if this is an art style or if this is just somebody who's really bad at drawing things. It seems like it's a story-rich kind of, I don't even know if you call it a point-and-click adventure game. It might be closer to like a visual novel game with just a really weird animation style going on here. I don't know. I am a sucker for weird, so I'll put this on the follow list and see if anybody reviews it. But it is also asking $16.99, and the level of visual graphics being so weird and potentially being just bad, depending on whether I want to call that art style bad, opens a lot of opportunity to ignore Ritual of the Moon and never buy it, which is probably what will happen. Next we have a game on Steam called Space Survivor Shooter, and it seems like it's an asset flip game of fighting aliens or something. Looks terrible. Early access discounted to $3.49. Yeah, that deserves no more consideration. Let's do that. And do that. And do I want to do that? I guess. Well, in there. If I hadn't kind of waken up late today, I probably should have gone through a lot of these games and done some cleanup. There is certainly a lot of games that I could have skipped. Next we have a game on Steam called Game Club Waka Waka, which seems like a well, they're calling it a computer club simulation, or simulation of running a computer cafe. $2.39 discounted. Yeah, nothing there interests me. Okay.
Too much
I should have summoned the random one first.
Job done.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. Gamatsu having most of the articles today. Monster collecting RPG disc creatures announced for PC. A tribute to classic monster catching RPGs from the Golden Age. So this looks like first generation Pokemon clone style of game coming to PC. If this can actually come out in the West for people who only play PC, that might be slightly interesting. I don't know how interesting that would be though, frankly. This is being published by Danjin Entertainment and Picorini Soft. I haven't heard of either of those companies either. It would be a hard justification, certainly, to play a Pokemon clone just because I could play it on PC and hopefully not get copyright claimed by Nintendo. I wouldn't be surprised if this game and all videos of people playing this game when it comes out actually are still copyright claimed by Nintendo of Japan. That wouldn't surprise me really one bit. There was a disc creature game, Monster Rancher, used to work by making monsters based on, you'd put in the Monster Rancher video game, start it, then you would take out the disc and put in like a music disc, and then the game would scan your music disc and create a randomized creatures. So that might be part of the idea here. But if honestly you had to, if you have to put an actual disc into your computer to play disc creatures, most people with PCs these days don't have that. Like they just simply do not have spinning media CD-ROMs. It's an interesting idea though. A challenge to the Nintendo console only releases. In all fairness though, you probably should make something that looks like a modern PC game, a modern Pokemon game to compete. Something that looked like the Pokemon Let's Go Pokemon Eevee and Pikachu, or the newest Pokemon game that's going to come out for Switch. That would be the quality of a game that you would want to actually see happen, not a clone of the old games. Because even Nintendo has given up on the old games. That's why they remade the old games for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Still struggling for this one victory. If I didn't have so many games to talk about, I'd be really frustrated right now for how much I've lost. Let's move on. Gamatsu has an article. 80s themed story-driven action RPG Kingdom of Night has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. The Kickstarter campaign is seeking $10,000 in funding, so no actual announcement date. There's a video here. Let's see if we can get a general idea of what the game looks like. Yeah, it seems like it is kind of an adventure. It's not like 8-bit small creatures. Feels a lot more like, I don't even know what to say it feels like. Feels different. I wouldn't recommend anybody actually kickstart a game by any means, but if we get more information later that Kingdom of Night actually is fully funded and coming out, I'll follow up on that, I suppose. Next we have a Gamatsu article. Super Slime Arena is coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch in 2019, which it's a multiplayer party fighting game. slimes fighting each other. Let's see. Yeah, 8-bit slimes just fighting each other.
Time waits for
Yeah,
no one.
this is the kind of game that in no way interests me.
Flesh fails. Try this.
Next we have a game on Steam called Ballista Legend, which is just a Zuma clone. And I don't know if we really need more Zuma games on Steam or anywhere in the universe. $4.99, I guess. If you like Zuma and you want more Zuma, I guess this is offering you more Zuma. But I'm not interested in that. And the game may not actually be called Zuma. I may be thinking of a different game. So I'm going to reserve the right to misremember the name. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Rhythm action game Muse Dash is coming to the Switch PC in mid-June. So this looks very anime. Although this is a pretty weird, unique style. Like, this is such a busy picture. I did not immediately see that there was a girl here. I thought that was just a pattern. I did not immediately see that there was a girl here. I didn't see that at all. All I saw was this girl in the middle and this cat in the background. Let's see. Muse Dash first launched for iOS and Android devices June of 2018. It has a Steam page, so we can go look at the Steam page and see how well that is reviewed. And while we do that, we'll come over here and
Time waits for no one.
review and play some more. Alright. So here's Muse Dash. It's an infinite runner, rhythm based, it seems. That might be doable. For maybe not for me, I have no rhythm, but yeah, it does seem like there's probably a low button and a high button, and you're doing low punch, high punches, and then things like that in different scenarios, funny different scenarios. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll put this on the follow list and see if people like it. Although, again, I must warn that I almost certainly wouldn't be able to play it myself to any level of skill. So people would probably laugh at me for my terrible ability at it. Let's see. Let's see. 23 hours ago, Team YouTube tweeted out the subscriptions feed error message is resolved for almost everyone. If you're still seeing it, and know that it will be fixed soon. Thanks for your continued patience. It's probably the way to say it's been fixed for every character, every issue. Just never claim it's 100% fixed. Just say it's been fixed for mostly everyone. Apparently, people were having trouble seeing their own subscriptions, which would have been super annoying if it affected me, certainly. If I go to YouTube and I want to see the latest YouTube videos and I can't see them, oh man, then I have to go find something else to do with my time, and that would be super annoying. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Sword and Sandals Classic Collection, which is clearly a low-effort collection of low-effort games for $9.99. It goes hotfix for empty folder missing exe file. So not even, apparently it wasn't even showing up. Let's see. Alright, now what? I guess we can hit it with that, and that. Yeah, Sword and Sandals Classic Collection, $9.99. Yeah, right. Not going on the list. Next one is tag sexual content, so let's just make sure it's YouTube friendly on the screenshots. Yeah. I always go, yeah, it's family friendly enough. I never go, no, it isn't. Or I very rarely do. So, draw. And
Done.
let's go back here. So we've got a game on Steam called Nurse Love Syndrome. I believe this is an otome girl-on-girl action romance visual novel. It is $35.99 with a 10% discount. I've heard a lot of hype about this one, so I think this is a big ticket Japanese visual novel that's super popular. So I'll put it on the follow list and see if people rate it positively, or if people say it's actually way too overpriced. That might be the other way things go. Let's see.
Eyes are having enough mouth.
Let's see, do I want to restore 5 health anywhere? Not really. Let's see. Tech Raptor has an article here. Netflix's Witcher TV series premieres later this year. Good to know. I know that there's been some kind of major changes with the TV series compared to the original release, or the game version, which is probably the most important version that they should be close to covering. And certainly we have seen in other instances, like the Death Note Netflix movie, not in any way a quality recreation of the Death Note manga or anime. And it is, I think, probably worth mentioning that somebody on Netflix's Twitter feed went on a rant against people calling movies chick flicks movies, as if chick flicks is somehow this hugely offensive term. Although, I mean, in a lot of ways it is slightly used in a derogatory manner against movies that aren't good and they're targeted to a female audience. But yeah, we never really know with Netflix. Half the time their content's good, half the time their content's bad.
Flesh fails. Try crystal.
Can't go any further. Let's see. Game Sutra has an article here. Game Informer Australia closed down in the wake of GameStop cuts. Game Informer being the GameStop in-store magazine. I'm not to be mistaken for.
What now?
There's a website that's close to the name of Game Informer that's not related to GameStop. But that's probably not a super surprise. Let's see. Well, this isn't in. It's a 3-4 copy of the last minion you played. So if I just play this, will become a 3/4 copy of that. Deal 1 damage. Just draw 3 cards.
Job done. Time waits for no one.
Next we have a game on Steam called Trino Line All Ages version. This is a visual novel. As far as I can tell, there is no other version on Steam. So there must be this is the censored version. There's seems to be no other version
What to do?
available to the West. I guess the only thing I could do, and I can kind of show off my copy and paste quick keys here. If I search Trino Line on Steam, that is the only version that comes up. Yep. I guess I'll put this on the fall list and see if anybody is super upset by the fact that it's the all ages version. If they're willing to put out a censored version on Steam, that probably means that there wasn't a lot to censor in the first place anyways. And the animation here in this cutscene and every single image here looks top-notch, high quality. And they are going with the Moe art style where the characters look a little bit younger, shorter, smaller, pushing them beyond what a real human would ever look like. And that might have certainly caused them to only release the all ages version, or an all ages version. Let's see. 1 damage and draw a card, or 3 damage. 2 damage to all minions. And then 1 damage and draw a card. And he gets 1 damage and draw a card again.
Take your medicine.
Just see if we'll see if I lose in the next turn or if I win. Yep, so Trinolo goes on the fall list. We'll see if there's any major backlash there. Maybe there's a simple patch that will come out, or mod. Tech Raptor has an article here. Cuphead update 1.2 lets Mugman star and brings fully animated cutscenes, which may drastically change what the game looks like, quite frankly. So if you've already played all the way through Cuphead, play it again as Mugman and look at all the new animated cutscenes. He seriously did beat me in that next turn. I was joking about losing in the next turn. I had 28 health. Oh man. I'm so glad I have so much work to do here. I'm so glad I implemented looking at video games, because if I was just playing Hearthstone now, I would have 40 minutes ago given up on the stream and just said, you know what, this is just, I'm gonna have to do it off screen. I'm gonna have to just start games and walk away from them and hope people get bored and concede, which is often how I cheat to get victories a lot of times, and I'm not even really ashamed to admit it. Next we have a game on Steam here called Yggdrasil Jigsaw Puzzle. It's just a jigsaw puzzle game with what seems like random images stolen from the internet for 94 cents. That's what it seemed like, at least. I'm not making any true accusations.
The light protects me.
Time waits for no one.
We already talked about this, but GameIndustry.biz. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate New Stage Builder Mode is recommending inappropriate content. I don't think GameIndustry.biz's pictures ever show up through my ad blocker, so you can't see any of them, but yeah. Stages with inappropriate images names are being listed as recommended and do not disappear when being reported or blocked. Interesting. Which that is Nintendo's understanding of internet content in a nutshell. We talked about this article a long time ago, but we'll say it again. TechRaptor has an article. Tencent now controls 15% of the gaming market and brought in nearly $20 billion in 2018. This is the entire worldwide video game market, with Sony behind at 14.2 billion, although it feels like Sony kind of doesn't care about video games anymore. Microsoft far behind Sony at 9.8 billion, Apple at 9.5, and that's just through making money of licensing games on the iOS. Then Activision Blizzard, and Activision Blizzard is about out of the business, and then Google. I don't know how Google even really would be considered a
My remedies are all natural. I fight.
like I don't know how you consider Google a video game in the video game market yet. Then NetEase, then EA, then Nintendo. Nintendo is at 4.3 billion, and Bandai Namco is at 2.7 billion. It seems like some of these numbers are probably wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony in total is at 14.2 billion, but the Sony Interactive Entertainment is actually much lower. But maybe that is right. Who knows? Having or bringing in the most amount of money doesn't inherently make you the biggest, best publisher out there. It just means you might be the greediest publisher out there. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Freshly founded All In Games set to publish Daymare 1998 Paradise Lost. It's a games publisher based out of Krakow, Poland. Has signed 16 games, including the likes of Paradise Lost and Fort Triumph. So, alright, new publisher is in the business of publishing. Let's see, restore 5 health. And do this.
I fight.
And then I'm going to do that for safety.
Take your medicine.
And do that. Being a newly established publisher and having 16 projects already in line to publish means you're definitely starting off on the right foot. You're doing what a publisher should be doing. Alright. Finally, I won. It's been a lot of work. So let's play one ranked Paladin deck game while I try to burn through games. Yeah, we have Slow Bullet VR. We're not gonna play it. It's garbage asset flip game. It's free to play. It's not in consideration. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, Bloodborne, The Song of Crows Part 3, Issue 11 Impressions. I think this is a Bloodborne comic book promoting Bloodborne. Bloodborne being a Castlevania game that could be a Metroidvania style game that, if it comes out and is good, would be amazing. The 2D Bloodborne game has come out and it was good, but the 3D game has been delayed and I don't think it's out yet. Last time I checked.
I'll never tell.
Alright, Hearthstone has you get a pack, you get a pack, and you get a pack through Twitch, or no, and choose your champions. So you just have to choose your champion. So make sure you go to Hearthstone's blog and find this, and you'll get some packs for some esports game. I'm sure that's about to happen. I barely saw that announcement, so I imagine usually the choose your champions don't get announced enough or promoted in game when they really should be. Let's see.
For justice.
TechRaptor has an article. Saber's Edge merges match 3 gameplay with tactical combat and sexy girls. Oops. I guess I can't show that one to you. Yeah, I was about to scroll down and show you considerable amount of cleavage. This is a Nutaku new game promotion. TechRaptor promotes almost everything Nutaku has to offer. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article here. European Esports Federation to be formed with 12 countries. Organization to serve as a moderating partner rather than a governing body for the industry. So they're going to act as kind of like an ESA, a toothless like federation. Let's see.
Follow the rules.
Let's do that. And then I guess I can do this and this. And then do that.
You have been.
TechRaptor has an article here. The most forbidden love in the world comes to Manga Gamer this May. Aside from the recent launch of Trino Line, which we just looked at, Manga Gamer has also announced another game will be making it to it called The Most Forbidden Love in the World, a visual novel game. Let's see. Trying to jump through this and see if there's anything special to say about this. No, it seems like it's a pretty much standard romance visual novel game. And looking at the character here, this is seems to be like a teacher, a college professor. Romantic interest. Let's keep on playing and hopefully keep on working. So Borderlands, on top of their shift codes, have instituted this Borderlands 3 VIP thing, where I guess they want you to have your email so they can advertise to you.
I will fight.
And they're giving out these VIP points that give you unique content, in-game rewards, and more, which to me seems like they are pushing the boundaries again for more microtransaction-y style of games. I suppose if you ever plan on playing Borderlands 3, you probably should sign up for the VIP thing. Yeah, and just try to get the rewards and collect and hold on to them. With what was I saying?
Never tell.
Job's done.
Just try to keep all those rewards and not buy it on the Epic Games Store, and hope that the rewards would be redeemable whenever you bought Borderlands 3 on Steam, or if you're playing on consoles, I imagine it doesn't matter.
The light protects
protects me.
Let me look at this article.
Everyone has demons.
So TechRaptor talks about that game. Triline will twist your mind with sci-fi smut, now available on Manga Gamer. Apparently it's on Steam, but if you want the uncensored version, you should buy it directly from mangagamer.com. Let's see. Apparently there's an android in this visual novel game. Yeah, so it seems like it goes in some weird directions.
The light protects me.
That explains the Steam release somewhat. So TechRaptor also has an affiliate partnership with Manga Gamer, so they're promoting that. Not saying it's a good game, I'm just saying, yeah, buy it on Manga Gamer if you want to see it the way it's intended to be seen. Let's burn through as much more as fast as possible still though. Keep up the pace. GameIndustry.biz, South Korean FTC is examining consumer regulations surrounding in-game purchases. The government body is currently investigating issues surrounding minors making purchases and unfair limitations on refunds. So, the Fair Trade Commission in South Korea is what the FTC stands for, where it's called the Federal Trade Commission in the United States, and I don't think they're particularly built around the concept of fair trade in the US.
The battle.
If South Korea institutes rules and regulations on a lot of mobile games, in particular, we would start to see those kind of policies expand quite a bit to other countries around the world, since a significant amount of the games that are mobile games are from South Korea.
I fight.
Let's see.
The battle.
That should work pretty well. Gamma Sutra has an article. Street Fighter 2's designer walks through the creation of some of the game's stranger fighters. This looks like an interview, which if I had time I might want to read. But it also doesn't seem to be extremely long as far as an interview. A lot of these Gamma Sutra articles are not super long. Let's do this.
I'll never tell.
Close the gates. Left
Do
warning.
this,
Fight.
this,
I
and
fight.
that. GameIndustry.biz has an article here. China introduces a new game approval process limiting the total approvals per year. HTML5 games now require approval. Anti-addiction system policy expanded to mobile titles. So they have now changed their policy kind of again. And yeah, it's just going to get more and more restrictive and more difficult. Number of games per each, less than 5,000 games will be approved in 2019, including, and 5,000 sounds like a lot until you realize that's everywhere. Like 5,000 games on every console, every PC, every cell phone. Games that are copycat titles, poker, or mahjong games, or games that include obscene content, obscene by the standards of China, will not be approved at all. Chinese publishers will be encouraged to self-regulate and promote titles with China's core values in mind while avoiding misrepresentations of history, politics, or law. Misrepresentations in that case being the truth instead of the standard Chinese government party line. So yeah, you just can't do business in China for basically anything, and it's something that corporations around the world are just gonna have to realize. You can't do business in China. It's just never gonna happen. Not when there is no freedom. Not when there isn't a true democracy in charge. You just can't. You just gotta avoid them like the plague, basically. Moving on, we have a Gamma Sutra article here. A video game music composer gives lecture at the Library of Congress. So this is like a speech. I don't know if there's much to read here. It's like the full transcript of the lecture if you're interested in it, but I don't think that's going to be worth most people's time to read.
The light protects.
Move quickly.
Next we have a game on Steam called CPU Architecture Sim, which looks like it's a puzzle game of some sort. It doesn't look very good, and visually it's way too dark and way too black. It's $3.39 discounted. Even if this was trying to teach the idea of what a CPU architecture is all about, it's not doing anything close to being informative as somebody who kind of, at least barely on the face value, knows how CPU architectures work or look.
I fight.
Reporting for duty.
Tech Raptor has an article here. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy Review. Few objections. I'm super hyped to play this game, so I don't think, even if they said it was the worst game ever, they would convince me not to want to buy it and play it. They gave it an 8.0. Great. Phoenix Wright's story and humor stand the test of time, but the graphical upgrades do it no favors. While voiceovers would be appreciated, the sound effects and dialogue are creative enough to make up for it. Prose are funny, story and dialogue still stands the test of time. Hilarious characters, cons, amateurish artwork, and no voiceovers. Let's see.
I fight.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Match 3 Pirates Heir to Davy Jones. It's another Match 3 game. It's discounted to $4.49.
Happy noble God.
Nothing in that would catch my attention.
Happy noble garden champion.
Got something to hide?
Let's see. Gamma Sutra has a blog here. 3 lessons for narrative game design students. It says join a community, support people who support you, and make things. Make things I agree with. The other 2 are just the standard video game. Join a community because the video game development community is full of cronyism, so you have to become a crony/friend of other people who get jobs to get a job yourself. And support people who support you is straight up just embrace cronyism. Get jobs for people who
The light protects me.
who you are friends with.
Show me.
Man, still got a ton of games. Next we have a game on Steam called Lover Bands, which seems like it's a mobile game in which you play 2 characters that are connected by a rubber band to maneuver yourself. I've seen similar games to this. 89 cents discounted. Nothing here that interests me.
Follow the rules. Reporting for duty.
Let's just wait on that one. Next we have a game called Mystery of the Ancients 3 Guardians Collection from Big Fish Games. That's a hidden object game. It's been about a week, so time for another $12.99 Big Fish Games hidden object game to come out.
Reporting for duty. For justice.
Next we have a game on Steam called 6120, which seems like it might be a walking simulator horror game. This is just barely good enough quality to deserve a follow. In fact, it probably doesn't deserve a follow, but I'll give it one anyways. No, wait, on second thought, because it's part of this buy indie games.studio bundle, I'm gonna skip it, because that indicates to me it's not good. It's $3.19 discounted, so it's pretty cheap also, which also indicates it's not that good of a quality.
For justice. For duty.
Let's go ahead and squelch this guy. We should have done that a while ago. Next we have a game called Haunted Jail Alcatraz. They've misspelled Alcatraz here. It's a dark screenshot, top down, looks like twin stick shooter game with pixel graphics. It's 59 cents discounted. Yep. Nothing more needs to be said about it. It's not good. Speaking of not good enough, we have a game on Steam called Animal Fight Club, which is just asset flips of different animals fighting each other in asset flip locations. Yeah. And this is discounted at $2.39.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called Magic Clouds, which looks like it's a horribly designed single screen Unity puzzle game with way too many shades of blue. Discounted to 59 cents. Yeah, nothing more needs to be said. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Helpless Zombies. Yeah, clearly an example of a lot of bad games I could have gone through and filtered out had I just spent an extra hour before streaming today. This is $1.99 without any discount, and yeah, it's garbage.
For justice. Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called Talk to Strangers, which there might be a game here. Pixel graphics. So you run around and you just talk to strangers. Interesting. I'll give this a follow list because there might be something here. Probably not. It's discounted to $3.59. There might be an interesting story that happens here, but maybe not. Probably not. Next we have a game on Steam called Hour of the Snake, which is just the game Snake, which Steam definitely does not need another Snake clone game, particularly one that's discounted to $4.49. Just ridiculous. And at this point, let's just drop playing Hearthstone altogether and just see if we can finish this. We have a game called a Legionary's Life, misspelled. This should be Legionnaires, I'm sure. It looks like a low effort RPG sim game. Early access for $7.99. Yeah, right. Let's see. TechRaptor has a review for Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission, a game of capsules and cards. So this is a card game that came out with all these different cards for all these weird potential Super Dragon Ball characters that could have existed or existed in different realities. So it looked pretty good, but not great. They're giving it a 6.5 good. It's a solid game and a good time for fans of the franchise and even people with more casual knowledge of the lore. Pros: large and varied cast, some creative controls, and lots of content. Cons are super annoying charges, semi-annoying charge impact battles, and some wonky animations. So yeah, I may play that game at some point. It's a single-player game though, so that's something to consider. TechRaptor also has a review for Forager, the white-eating game they call it. See, I was iffy on Forager, so if they tell me that it's like a 5 or a 6, I'll take that to heart and not put it on the follow list. It has some elements. Yeah, they call it 4.5 mediocre. Forager demonstrates the importance of anchoring players in the world that has great content, but there's a hidden away behind random chances and hours of grinding. The idle-like mechanics are irritating at best, but the dungeon crawling and the puzzles come into their own. I only wish the rest of the game lived up to the excitement of finding a dungeon. Pros: cute art style, an engaging early game, and fun dungeons and delightful puzzles. Cons: tedious stamina system, boring idle-like resource management, useless skill tree options, and grinding without reason. And see, that is exactly what I was worried about when I looked at it. Is it looked like you were going to end up grinding a lot while mining out trees and chopping down trees. So thank goodness that TechRaptor reviewed it before I put it on the follow list, although other people would have reviewed it before I thought about actually buying it. GameIndustry.biz has an article: Nintendo stock leaps following Switch approval in China. A 17% rise in the Tokyo Exchange is the company's largest percentage gain since the Pokemon Go summer of 2016. Okay, so investors take the Switch being available to be sold in China as a good thing. I'm not sure I fully agree. TechRaptor, they must have been reviewing games like crazy. Katana Zero review Zero the Hero. Let's see what they have to say about this game, because I'm a little iffy on this one too. Let's face it, I'm iffy on all the games, because you just never know. 9.0 amazing. Katana Zero's gameplay is genuinely fantastic. It's a perfect choice for someone looking for the next frantic and challenging ending darling. Pros are great characters, awesome boss fights, fantastic central gameplay loop, great variations to gameplay, beautiful graphics, and soundtrack. Cons are the story's abrupt ending and ... but not enough of them. So they're probably quoting something that says that they say in the game. TechRaptor has an article here: Steam Watch, game developer revokes Steam keys and pulls game from sale. It seems like this is probably the biggest example of somebody revoking Steam keys in general. Let's see. Ghoul Boy, Dark Sword of Goblin. He was one of the dirty devs from Sid Alpha. This is Sid Alpha's YouTube channel. Although Sid Alpha also got yelled at a couple of times in the past month for not doing enough research, I think. In this incident, Otaku Maker was yet again one of the sites targeted as a result of keys being revoked, and Otaku Maker were, as with the other incidences, incredibly unresponsive to customer inquiries and PayPal refund requests. Yeah, and see that all that up to this point was just backstory. Pushing forward to what we're talking about today, another developer has gone ahead and revoked Steam keys. However, this developer in particular seems to have gone an extra step and has effectively abandoned his game after revoking the customer's keys and pulled it from the purchase option from Steam, which maybe means that there was something illegal in the game, like stolen art assets. The game in question is called Dumbstone Card Game, developed by Flying Cubicle, describing itself as a social discarding card game. I didn't see this game and don't recognize it. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything really more to this. It seems like maybe Otaku Maker was also, the now defunct Otaku Maker was also involved in what frustrated this developer to revoke the keys. But he's like revoking all the keys and removing it from sale on Steam. Maybe to stop people from review bombing it, but I don't know how you really stop people from review bombing it. This is an interesting turn of fate. Game is no longer supported. I don't give you permission to use my copyrighted content in any form. Thanks for supporting. So this guy has taken all his toys and gone home, apparently. Steam, on a bigger point, the point does need to be made that Steam needs better contracts and a way of stopping people from revoking keys that have been legitimately purchased, at least directly through Steam. But I don't know what they can really do about it, frankly, because they would just then be getting into lawsuits forcing somebody to honor their contract, and it would cost Valve a lot of money to just keep a insignificantly small number of people who bought that game happy. If it was a big game, if Borderlands 3 came out on Steam and then Gearbox or 2K revoked all the licenses to people who bought Borderlands 3, that would be something they would be willing to fight, certainly. But these small indie nobody developers are going to get away with this stuff, and I don't know. The only thing I guess Valve could do, and it would be very nice if they did do that, is if they were to refund and credit the value and just say, hey, why don't you go buy a different game instead? Just to make the customer happy. Valve could do a lot of things to credit mistreated customers and just do better customer service that way. And as long as the money stays inside Valve's marketplace, it doesn't really cost them anything. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Beat Ships, which is a music flying game of some sort. It doesn't look particularly interesting. I'm not sure that the over-the-top shoot-'em-up angle is the right angle to make a game like that. Since early access, discounted to $7.99. I don't want to lose momentum here. TechRaptor has an article, the Zork and other classic text adventures games source codes have been archived as in maybe illegally copied, but being held by the Internet Archive regardless. A lot of these text-based adventure games people do have nostalgia for. You can buy this Orc Anthology on Steam. I'm not nostalgic for old text-based games. I didn't play them very much, and frankly, I consider video games and audio-video media, and text-based games just don't really fit that description well enough to interest me. Here we have a game on Steam called Marvin the Hatter, which looks like a platforming game. This looks polished enough to be given a follow. It's $1.59 discounted. It's probably nothing as far as it's probably a super short game, but it's visually polished. And like I was just saying, visuals do mean a big amount to me. Next we have a game here called Burning Daylight, which is some kind of free-to-play adventure game. It's free with no in-game purchases. I'm gonna put this on the follow list since it's rated positively. It's a free game though, so it looks like kind of like a point-and-click adventure. It says it has nudity and sexual content in it, so it might be an adult game. It didn't occur to me that that was an option. Let's see. None of these screenshots really strike me as that, though. I don't think that's what this game is going to be all about. So you'll probably see some incidental nudity and sexual content, not a lewd game 100%. Next we have a game on Steam called Race for Tuning, which looks like a low quality racing game with tuning. So many mobile games that look like this. It's discounted to $4.24, English and Russian. Nothing quality there. Let's see, what do I want to do? Let's go 2 more games, and then I'm gonna start skipping to the news alone. Next is a game I'm not going to show you. It's called Nyasha Valkyrie. It's a bunch of animated Valkyries in bikinis. It's probably still family friendly, but I'll just play it safe. It's a slide puzzle game. It's discounted to 59 cents. It looks a little bit more consistent thematically than most of the slide puzzle games that seem like they're just random assortments of stolen art. Next we have a game on Steam called Rules of the Mafia Trade in Blood. It's already rated negatively. It's early access. Seems like it might just be a simulation game and not really have any shooting or any gameplay loop. Early access for $5.59. Let me scroll down and just see what the negative reviews are. At a current state it isn't much. Look forward to see how it is. Just finished the game now, what, after 2.7 hours. Boring, beat it in 30 minutes, very easy, not worth it. Okay. So yeah. Not worth $5.99 or 59 cents. I'm not surprised by that. Alright. So at this point, I'm just going to try and cover the news, and that should be enough, and we'll leave some games for Monday. Gamasutra has an article, Gearbox CEO, both devs and players benefit from the Epic and Steam competition. I don't know if Randy Pitchford went on another 100 tweet storm, or if this is just the same one. Randy Pitchford, and this is a tinfoil hat thought I had, certainly. He has in the past not disclosed things, like how his wife owns a restaurant called, I think, Nerdvania, and how he was promoting Nerdvania without disclosing that his wife owned it on his Twitter account, or how he has people at Gearbox go and have parties and eat there, possibly then laundering money from Gearbox corporate to his wife's corporation there, or so yeah, just a lack of disclosure, a lack of straight business ethics. I wouldn't be surprised, again, tinfoil hat theory here, if Randy Pitchford has an investment and owns stock in Epic as a company, and other than potentially him getting a bigger cut by only putting Borderlands 3 on the Epic Store for the first 6 months, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually has an investment in the corporation and owns some of it and is not disclosing that. But maybe it's not a financial investment that has to be disclosed. It very possibly is just a personal investment, in that he likes Tim Sweeney, or he likes somebody else at Epic, or he just likes the company of Epic in general. That he's made that blatantly clear. So far, this opinion piece on Gamma Sutra does not sway me in any way. I don't feel like Epic is in any way adding competition that is in the long run benefiting players. It is only benefiting devs right now. And that's pretty much... Sorry, I had to take a moment to drink some water there. I've been talking so long. It's pretty much what everybody else has been saying too. But the good news is nobody so far... I don't think Borderlands 3 is out yet, but nobody so far has just come out and said that they've gotten a early copy of Borderlands 3 and it's actually horrible. Although I did hear of like one troll try to make some of those kind of claims, but it didn't seem like that was believable. We already talked about that news story, so we don't have to talk about this. Gamatsu has an article here. Death End Request for PC launches May 16th. Death End Request is obviously a JRPG from Idea Factory. Anything else to say there? No, they just have a... Let's just leave it at that. May 16th, if you've been hyped for Death End Request. That's that. Gamatsu has an article here. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes DLC Volume 2, Bubblegum Fatale, launches April 18th. Travis Strikes Again, still not really a great game, but it's marginally getting better, I guess, with DLC. I still don't think it's probably worth playing now. Let's see. Gametsu has an article here. Action RPG The Never-Ending Labyrinth launches via Steam Early Access on April 30th. So, yeah. Another game coming to get hyped with. I have so many of these, this is certainly why I felt like there was probably an event where Idea Factory announced a bunch of games. Natsumi Indie Program announced with the first title called Cosmic Defenders for Switch. Doesn't look like much of a game to me. And it's Switch only, so that wouldn't really interest me. Come on, just burn through all of this. Let's see. Redout for Switch, Gametsu launches May 14th. Redout looks like a decent F-Zero clone, although it's kind of questionable why F-Zero isn't actually coming out on Switch. Apparently Redout is already available for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. there was definitely a game like this where there was no positions and no racing, and it was just infinite racing. There are a lot of games on Switch, on PC and Steam in particular, that look kind of like this, and so it's going to take me some effort to figure out which one of the dozens and dozens of games that look like this are actually the good ones and the ones worth playing. Let's see. Next, Gematsu has an article. Daymare 1998 launches this summer for PC, soon after for the PS4 and Xbox One. And Daymare looks like it's going to be a horrific third-person survival horror game. I'd normally watch this trailer, but since I'm trying to save time, we'll get through this. Next, Gematsu has an article. Romance visual novel Raspberry Cube is coming to the PS4 and Switch app on August 29th in Japan. This is probably not coming to the West, but if it is, it'll probably be delayed and censored, if I was to guess. Finally, I see the Humble Bundle page, so I see the end here, which means there will be about 10 games that I'm just going to skip and leave for Monday. And I'll probably go through them and close anything that is just a garbage game that doesn't need to be mentioned. Gematsu has an article. 2D arcade puzzle maze game Pig Eat Ball is coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch this summer. This is a crazy looking game. I want to see this actually in play. Well, it's already on Steam from September 2018. And I guess I could watch that trailer, so I could see. So I'll leave that page. Let's see. Tech Raptor has an article. Just Cause 4 Daredevils of Destruction DLC has been announced. It launches April 30th, which Just Cause 4 came out and then rather quickly was forgotten. It lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, and then that was as much as I could remember that it had even come out, and they're probably way too late to be bringing out DLC for it, quite frankly. Next, Tech Raptor has an article. Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, and No More Heroes announce a crossover, which No More Heroes was working with a lot of people to have t-shirts of other games in Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. But I suspect this actually is going to have Travis Touchdown show up in the Dragon's Dogma game also. Which, okay. I'm not sure. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a super popular game. It's probably not as good as getting, say, a Monster Hunter crossover or Final Fantasy crossover. Let's see, Gematsu has an article. Dark Devotion launches April 25th for PC and then later for the PS4 and Switch, which in the old days, this is the most apparent change I have seen recently in the video game industry. Games are coming out for PC first and then coming out to the Switch and the PlayStation 4 later. Whereas in the past, if something was coming out later to the Switch, it's because it was a secondary thought. But then PS4 would have always been the first platform for anything to be released on. Now it's PC, and PS4 has been demoted down to the secondary thought. And in lots of cases, it's been eliminated completely, and you're seeing games just come out for PC, or just come out for PC and Switch, or just come out for PC and Xbox and Switch. What Dark Devotion is a 2D side-scrolling action game that sounds interesting. So I'll put it on the follow list. Again, I don't want to spend time to watch the trailer. Gematsu has an article here. Trine Ultimate Collection Overview Trailer. So the Ultimate Collection including Trine 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't believe 3 is that good. 4 might be alright. So the Ultimate Collection of Trine being resold not that many years after Trine 4 came out. That being said, the developers of Trine I think also are probably hurting for money, so I wouldn't be surprised if they can't get enough sales that they will eventually just go out of business. And then Gematsu has an article here. Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana is coming to smartphones worldwide. Release date not announced. What's weird here is Ys 8 was a console game, and a relatively recent console game, so they're gonna probably have to do some modification to get it to play on cell phones, but maybe not that much because it was first launched for the Vita, now that I read this, so they touched it up and released it for the PS4 and the PC and the Switch, and now they're probably just undo all the polish that they did in the console and PC versions and release something that is closer to the Vita version. Being a JRPG, it's probably not too hard to accomplish that. And then that will bring us to the Humble Bundle, and I'm not going to go back to the Twitch, not Twitch, but Twitter page and see if there's anything new on the news. If anything happens this weekend, I'll just talk about it on Monday. If anything's happened during the time we've been streaming, I'll talk about it on Monday. I doubt anything really has happened, video game related at least. And yeah, there's nothing on the Humble Bundle site. So, yeah, we got probably 15 games that are getting added to the fall list, and 10 games that were skipped. And who knows what uncounted number of games and pages were closed. And I made 2 recordings today, but the second recording was easily twice as long as the first recording, and I could have made 3 recordings. And yeah, otherwise it was a standard Friday. Nobody gets on the chat. Nobody probably watches. That's it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to further follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.